June of this year, Council Member Jim has requested a report to the Mayor and Common Council regarding the current status of medical marijuana dispensaries in the city of San Bernardino. Medical marijuana dispensaries remain an unauthorized use within the city. Despite that, the demand for medical marijuana remains high. The city continues to enforce its prohibition of medical marijuana dispensaries with limited resources available using administrative, criminal, and civil remedies. This report seeks to provide background information regarding medical marijuana dispensaries, a summary of current enforcement activity, and a recommendation for future action. Tonight I'm giving a brief summary of the report that is in your backup material and the report that is also available on the website for public viewing. Under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, the possession, cultivation, and distribution of marijuana is illegal under federal law. As recently as 2013, Aaron Sandusky of Ransom, Cucamonga was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for his 3 marijuana growing operations in Name on the Fire. Now, however, the U.S. Attorney's Office and the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office have largely abandoned prosecuting medical marijuana dispensaries. California's Compassionate Use Act and Medical Marijuana Program Act do not legalize marijuana, but provide limited defenses to certain categories of individuals with respect to certain conduct and certain criminal offenses. It gives seriously ill Californians the right to obtain and use marijuana for medical purposes. Said California laws, however, do not limit this city's ability to regulate medical marijuana use through our land use authority. Interpretation of California laws is continuing to evolve as the cities and counties experiment with various land use approaches, including licensing schemes and outright bans, and as the courts react. It is clear, however, as a result of a 2013 case involving the city of Riverside, that California's medical marijuana laws do not preempt local bans on medical marijuana dispensaries, such as land use bans currently existing in our city. Currently, code enforcement, the police department, and the city attorney's office use administrative, criminal, and civil remedies to enforce our ban on medical marijuana dispensaries. Actions are prosecuted against operators of the dispensaries, including owners, employees, and volunteers, and/or landlords or property owners. Injunctions have been used effectively to end dispensary operations at specific locations. However, the injunction process is the most costly for the city to pursue and therefore can have little effect on the entire city unless we are willing to commit substantial resources in extensive citywide pursuit. Without U.S. Attorney and District Attorney prosecution, which in the past were heavily relied upon in preventing dispensary operations in our city, we are left with limited enforcement from a public nuisance and land use standpoint. As such, we have seen little success in our efforts to minimize the number of marijuana dispensaries in our city. We continue to expend valuable and limited police, code enforcement, and attorney resources with frustratingly insignificant results. We need to change our strategy. We need to change our policy. We need to develop a plan that will effectively and significantly confront the problem. Developing policies to deal with the medical marijuana problem is an issue for the mayor and common council. My office will assist in that process by providing counsel, guidance, and advice, and by suggesting and presenting various options available for consideration. Policy decisions will be difficult and should include consideration of numerous factors, such as the strong demand for marijuana within our city and the cost of implementation and enforcement. There are many residents of this city who believe that the use and acquisition of medical marijuana, as permitted by the state of California, should not be prevented by our city, while others believe the city should continue to ban the establishment and operation of all medical marijuana dispensaries. This council faces many difficult decisions, which should be made only after a significant amount of study and information has been digested. My recommendation at this time is that the mayor and common council create a medical cannabis dispensary ad hoc committee to receive and consider information and recommendations not only from the city attorney's office, but from the police department and interested members of the public. After comprehensive review of the city attorney's recommendations, together with consideration of alternatives and options, as presented by my office and others, including the committee's members' own opinions and research, the committee should present its recommendations to the full mayor and council for consideration and action. My office has researched and will present topics for discussion and considerations, which are similar to the following examples. Should the city allow a limited number of highly regulated medical marijuana dispensaries, such as is done in San Diego, San Jose, and Palm Springs? If so, using what zoning locations or other locations restrictions? The effect of upcoming statewide legislation like SB 1262, which may give the city additional resources or tools to enforce the medical marijuana dispensary ban. If allowing dispensaries, what regulations should be imposed, such as security, plant tracking, patient screening, hours of operation, signage, cameras, inspections, etc. The possibility of revenue generation through business registration, taxes, excise taxes, or fees. Allocation of additional resources to enforce efforts such as contracting with an outside law firm capable of bringing simultaneous civil action against large numbers of dispensaries. My office is prepared to recommend options of various plans to the committee. For example, we would present a plan which essentially acknowledges the futility and high cost of attempting to completely eradicate medical marijuana dispensaries with our current system, by which we will continue to spend hundreds of thousands and eventually millions of dollars but will never significantly achieve success. Instead, by conceding to California's policy of allowing marijuana for medical purposes and permitting dispensaries that are highly regulated, we can move the distribution of medical marijuana from the black market to the regulated market. By doing so, we can regulate all aspects of dispensaries, including how, when, and where they operate, while also limiting dispensaries to a specific number. This can be done to include a revenue-producing element, which can be used to offset the city's costs in closing the illegal dispensaries. I will present to the committee various models currently in use by other cities and provide information regarding their varying degrees of success. The time has come for our city to revisit the dispensary issue and formulate a plan that will effectively implement our policy. And I believe that the creation of the recommended committee will set us well along such a path. Lastly, I have a message for all illegal medical marijuana dispensary owners, operators, employees, and most importantly, real property owners who persist in defiantly allowing their property to be used in violation of San Bernardino's land use regulations. Know that it is now time for you to leave the city of San Bernardino. Know that the mayor, common council, city attorney, and business owners and citizens of San Bernardino see you as a direct obstacle to our quest for renewed prosperity. Know that your operations will no longer be tolerated in San Bernardino. Know that formulating a new plan to effectively eliminate the operation of illegal medical marijuana dispensaries in this city has become a top priority of this city attorney. Real property owners and commercial landlords, you are hereby noticed that our new campaign against illegal medical marijuana dispensaries will include the imposition of penalties, fines, liens against your property, which will not be reduced or compromised, but instead aggressively imposed, enforced, and collected by all appropriate legal action. I recommend this committee be formed forthwith with both the mayor and city manager as members, and that a plan be presented by the committee for approval by this council at the August 18th regular meeting. I believe that the committee will
and say that once, if you're leasing to a medical marijuana, and it's clear that they are, that we're going to lien your property. We're going to come after your property. We don't care what they're doing in there. We know it's medical marijuana. we have a ban against that currently in the city, and can we go after property owners?
We certainly can, and we certainly have been, to the degree that we can. It has been problematic in terms of being able to locate and find property owners. We have been pursuing that, and we have had some effect. There have been fines imposed, and there have been liens attached to various properties. But that has not been effective as is visible by driving through our city in terms of an overall effect. But certainly, I also concur that the most effective way to address the problem is through pursuit of landlords who, as I've indicated, are defiant in terms of their refusal to abide by our land use regulations. It needs to be, we need to put out the word significantly and effectively that the property owners are going to pay significantly, and that the high returns that they are receiving regarding rents and so on from the people that rent for dispensary uses are going to be a small amount compared to their losses ultimately, or what their ultimate risks are when they rent to these people. We know that a lot of times landlords get fooled into renting to somebody who indicate that they're using it for one purpose or another. And these people oftentimes come to the city and acquire some kind of a business registration that describes some other activity taking place at the location, which is not a medical marijuana, obviously. And they will post that, and their landlord, to some degree, is fooled into believing that they are doing something other than medical marijuana. But yeah, allegedly by prosecution and seeking out landlords, that can be probably the most effective way to deal with the problem, in conjunction with the other things that I think can be further developed by use of this committee.
Right, I guess that's kind of my question, that sounds like something that maybe could get the attention right away and maybe start dealing with these, and if we could set a separate ordinance or put the teeth into the ordinance we currently have immediately, that would maybe be the first action by the committee and by the council, and then continue to look at the zoning issues and the taxing issues and the other regulatory issues that come along with it. So that's, I'm not really maybe putting that as a question, but more of a recommendation and a statement of where I think we should be going with this committee and ultimately to the high regulation and controlling it.
I concur with that, Councilman Sherrod. My only suggestion is that I think that we can add some significant amount of additional enforcement by changing our plan and pursuing not only landlords, but also addressing to some degree the high costs that are involved. These kinds of enforcements involve a significant amount of costs, a significant amount of resources, not only by the police department and code enforcement, but by my office as well. And so what other cities have done is in order to address the high costs involved, that they include some element of revenue so that you can pay for the cost of closing these illegal dispensaries. That's a serious policy consideration, and that's why I suggest the committee needs to be formed to take a closer look at that and make a decision whether or not, or to present a recommendation so the down these operations and arrested the individuals involved. Yet, as we see, those dispensaries were reopened within a short time. So it can be significantly cat and mouse. We can continue to expend numerous resources, and that's what I want to get around in terms of coming up with a new approach.
I support your plan and program.
Councilman O'Neill. Yes, I want to first thank the city attorney and his staff, particularly Stephen Graham, for the work they've done on this. Hope that Stephen is better now after his operation.
Thank you very much. I just heard an update today, and he's doing well. He's up and around, and looking forward to having him back in the office soon.
Super. But I agree from previous discussions that obviously the total prohibition has not been effective in the city. They jumped from one place to another, and regardless, it's very costly. I think the city attorney's office alone costs $10,000 per closure, and given with the police and code enforcement and others, that it is a difficulty, and the penalties maybe are not high enough, and we're sort of restricted on the amount of penalties that we can apply as it stands now. And I think that your recommendation, I thought maybe we could refer this to LRC, but it seems that there's so many potential inputs, and I think the timeliness that we really want to move it as quickly as possible on this. And so, I would agree with you that we should establish a medical cannabis dispensary ad hoc committee, and to accept the testimony, the public information and concerns, and to present the council with a proposed ordinance that would reflect some of the successful programs that that do exist within the region.
I would just concur that the LRC is a good alternative to forming a separate ad hoc committee to address this. And I would, whichever way the council decides to go, would be my hope that they would do so expeditiously. And it would be my intention as a participant and advisor to the committee that the process not be dragged out. The recommendation would be returned to the council at the earliest possible time. As I indicated, my recommendation would be, perhaps it's a little optimistic, but that the would return at the August 18th meeting with the recommendation. I believe that's possible and feasible, depending upon the members of the committee, how quickly they want to move. My office is prepared to move that quickly.
And I think the timeliness is my perspective in terms of establishing a separate committee. LRC has other business that it undertakes, and there's so many, having looked at the issues, there's so many possibilities that I think that it really would warrant a separate panel to spend sufficient time to investigate the other opportunities that we have. Councilman Nickel.
I would just echo on just a concern that once you start creating so many committees, I think I'd echo my colleague Mr. Chouette's concerns earlier that it becomes pretty unclear in terms of here we do have a committee whose job it is to review ordinances, and now we're going to create a new committee. And I don't know. I just think we need to be clear in terms of what our roles and responsibilities are in terms of what the committees are designed to do and established to do. I think this is a proper review for our LRC committee to undertake, and we do currently have an ordinance on the books. It sounds like it doesn't have enough teeth, and so it sounds like we need to review it again and look at how we can add some teeth to this thing. At the risk of sounding really hypocritical, I first believed that when I first was talking about it, I thought that this should be an LRC. I did. As I think Mr. Mobile kind of did at the first blush. But I think this is an item, and in fact, I think this kind of dovetails with my idea of committees that there are certain things. I believe there's a lot of things that go to committee that doesn't need to. Is what I maybe haven't said. I believe we spend a lot of time in committees with ticky-tacky operational things that should be left to the management of the city, and I don't think we need to be involved. And that's where I kind of draw the line. This, I think, is the ideal type of issue. I go back and say maybe we should have taken the homeless issue to a special committee that didn't operate outside of the full council. But I think this is the exact type of issue that should be vetted by a committee and with the staff. I don't know exactly how it works having the mayor and city manager on a committee of council members, but I don't have any opposition to that either, and I would welcome that if I were to serve on that committee, and I could support that. So I do think that an ad hoc committee in this case, I wish all of our committees were ad hoc on an as-needed basis. In other words, you come up with an issue that needs to be dealt with, you set up a committee, you deal with it, and then you end the committee and move on to the next item. So I'd support the city attorney's plan to set up an ad hoc committee. But as chair of the LRC, I can live with that as well.
So do we have a motion to eradicate all committees?
Can I make that? I don't think it's an agenda. I don't think it's an agenda, but I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be looking at the committee assignments. We currently have 4 ad hoc committees: the Military Banner, Animal Control, Education Bridge Committee, Economic Development Committee. Not all of these meet frequently, but I agree. I'm surprised that I agree with Councilmember Charette. You're pushing it. This is a quality of life issue. For a long time, I thought that these dispensaries were only limited to the first ward. They are not. They are all over the city. And if you close one, you have 3 more open. So this is really crucial. So let me look at the committee assignments. But you want to move forward like quickly, right?
My initial thought was to develop a plan and to bring that to the council for their decisions to either adopt my plan or not to adopt it. And then as I considered more carefully, there were so many
Moving
what I
forward.
consider policy issues that need to be looked at more closely. There's a lot involved. There's a lot of information. So I thought that it was best for a committee. At the same time, it would be my recommendation that it's probably something that, at least from my perspective, I would like to see us move more quickly on and not drag out the process. To the extent that that can be done, I would like to see that happen, but I realize everybody is busy and has time constraints, but to the extent that the committee could be formed and could move quickly on this, as I indicated, my office is prepared to present information as needed and as should be sufficient for the committee to make a determination, a decision, and bring a recommendation to council.
I'll work on it tomorrow morning. No, just for my clarification, Mr. City Attorney, the mayor's office would also be involved in this ad hoc committee as well.
That was just my suggestion. Whatever pleases the council at this point, my recommendation, I would like to see the mayor on it. I think he would have he's bringing significant policy-making decisions and ideas to the city. And I think he would be an appropriate member, as I believe the city manager, because of his direct involvement with almost all aspects. But it would also be an appropriate member. But that's just, those are my thoughts. More than an actual recommendation to this council, it would be up to the council to decide what would be the appropriate membership of the committee.
Will you be okay if we brought that agenda item, whether it's LRC or ad hoc committee, to the August 4th meeting?
That would not be a problem for me.
Okay, I'll work on it tomorrow morning.
Councilman Nichols. Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. In the past, the mayor also has the power to formulate an ad hoc committee without bringing it forward to us as a body. And if you talk about moving rapidly, that would probably be the best course to take. And then also, I like those options that you talked about, because you mentioned some of those cities who have utilized some of these states and regulated them and utilized them to bring in revenue to the city. So those things that, we have to look at, and I'd like to see some data on that, on how that impacted that city, whether it's positive or negative, whether people were hanging around at those locations, or if you had that type of data.
The LRC through an ad hoc process. So I'm just curious. We have this committee. It's something that we already utilize, and it just sounds like we're engaging in a process of looking at an existing ordinance or beefing up an existing ordinance. And so I'm just concerned that given the role of the LRC as it has been established, if in fact we may need to go through LRC at some time to get this approved.
I'm going to come from left field a little bit. I'm just reading an article in a magazine where there is now a website that you can register with as a medical marijuana sales point. I think they charge $450 a month, and if you're a doctor that prescribes prescriptions for medical marijuana, you can also register on that website. They're projected to do $25 million for the first year. But besides that, the thought has occurred to me is that we are treating this as a retail establishment, not just retail establishment, but we talk about it in terms of zoning, et cetera. There doesn't seem to be a focus on the medical side of it. And I'm just wondering, in whatever considerations that we come up with, if you couldn't link it to the doctors that write their prescriptions and make them responsible for any of the clinic and take it out of the retail side of it, but make it the medical side of it. Just a suggestion. I don't know exactly how to do it. I'm sure it could be thought about. I'm sure there are doctors there that would be responsible, but you make the doctors responsible for it, not the landlords, not the zoning, etc. But you truly make it a medical kind of ordinance. 2 cents.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yeah, there's been literature on this, and the various medical organizations, it's a subcategory of the AMA, and they simply don't want to get involved with the thicket of it. These are physicians, and if they write, there's no penalties for them. There is some review, but I think the penalties is if the physician goes over like 100 prescriptions per year, it enacts some process, but you'd really have to be a big producer of prescriptions to really engage that particular aspect of it. So, unless there's something more, it's really been ineffective in controlling these, and it already exists. That's no avail. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one public speaker, actually 2 public speakers, I believe, on this issue. Did someone else? William, COC.
Chip. Thank you.
My first comment tonight is after reading your citywide goals in eliminating the dispensaries. That's my plan to talk about that tonight. I've actually been working on a few different plans since I actually moved.
Mr. Valdez, you're on board, please.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So I'm agreeing with the city attorney's recommendation for creating a cannabis commission. I have been researching all the possible topics that he brought up. I have a few different take homes and a lot of notes, studies and information. And I would just like to volunteer myself to this
By the way, excuse me, sir, through the chair, just so you'll know, you're right, it's not a commission, it's a committee, but those are published meetings and they are open to the public, so you're welcome to attend any committee public meetings.
I've actually been trying to get an appointment with your office, you're my representative, councilman, on this matter.
Thank you. Jay Lindbergh. Mr. Lindbergh, was this the topic you just said 7-headed?
Jay Lindbergh, San Bernardino. You know, sometimes government's really amazed the hell out of me. That none of y'all have asked a basic question here. A real basic question. It's really basic. Do you have the right to usurp the will of the people here? I mean, that's what it's like, you know, 1996, 18 years ago? 18 years ago, they voted for medical marijuana. 18 years ago. I mean, they'd be old enough to drink or whatever, something like that. And the question is, and you know, now they're running something like 75% of the public supports medical marijuana, and almost 60% supports legalization. And here you guys are, sitting up here, when you know that when you know the city voted for this, and there's a major surplus of vote now for medical marijuana, you have the nerve to say, I'm not going to support the will of the people in this community. That I'm going to support the war on drugs, and somebody claims it's a quality of life issue. How do you know it's a quality of life issue? You had 5 or 6 people get killed, and most of that stuff was gang related, and those gangs were built on this war on drugs. Yeah, it is. You're damn right it's a quality of life issue. What's going to happen when you shut these things down? You take the money that was being generated in these cannabis clubs, and you put it in the black market. And all that does is create a bigger war zone. Yeah, that's going to work. How has it worked so far? It hasn't. It's failed miserable. It's corrupted. That's how bad it's gotten. Now think about this. Just think about this. Remember, you know, with this war on drugs, you know, to give you some numbers on how much black market drug sales there are in this city, you know, estimates of $250 to $300 million a year. That's what they're spending. You can dig up the research, and you'll find out that's a pretty good estimate. And you've got, what, maybe a couple $1 million you can throw at shutting it down? Yeah, that's worked really well, hasn't it? Think about this. The people supported medical marijuana, and I believe everyone all up here are stating, no, we have the moral authority to ignore what your own constituents voted on almost 20 years ago, and now that those numbers are almost 3 to 1 supporting medical marijuana, and you're still up here stating we need to get tough on this stuff. But you know why it hasn't worked? You know why it hasn't worked? Because nobody out there besides you people and a bunch of cops believe it's the right way to go. Remember, your own constituents don't want you to crack down on this. They voted to have it happen almost 20 years ago, and you still haven't figured out that that's what they wanted. Thank you.
The next speaker is Richard Castro.
It's a very interesting process that we have to look at right now. Obviously, the changing in the future is being determined by what actually happened in the past. I'm not speaking about the voting issue. I'm speaking about the people that voted for those issues. If you recall, we always knew baby boomers of the future were going to be those children of the 60s. leaders of most of the businesses out there that actually did take in things like marijuana at the time that it was such a very wrong thing to do. I came up as a very, very hardcore athlete. I didn't drink, smoke, shoot, I didn't do anything except play sports because I was so fearful of what was going to happen. However, as we all age, we also realize that there are